As you started up, I need to tell you, because some of you may wonder, why do we keep videotaping? David Heaton, who's one of our young, well, not so young adults, corresponds with me quite frequently, and he has started watching the videos on our YouTube page of the Sunday school class and has shared it with his friends who may be watching it as well. So when you wonder why we do this, we're reaching people who might not step in our doors.
They might become an influencer.
Yeah.
I've heard several people say they enjoyed the Sunday school.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna have to start actually saying something each week.
They must like what you're doing, don't you?
You know, percentage-wise, in here, we're doing right well today.
this is the highest attendance we've had all year.
I was gonna say we got more than we have in church most of the time.
No, we're in our 30s.
Half a church.
She's being punished. She's being punished.
No, y'all use the potatoes over one.
I'm going to do violence and
Y'all
other.
do all the child.
She's having me instead of Johnny.
She heard Johnny was sick.
Yeah.
She's
On this side of the room.
she pretended to be Mac.
Yeah, there you go. But you'll find that the pew is actually more comfortable than the chair.
It really is, Johnson.
I got to muster up enough energy to move.
Okay. Lynette was at church today.
Well, good.
Yeah.
And Crip. I've been calling her Crip.
Yeah. Yeah, Crip was at church.
Well, good.
All right, well let's go ahead and get started. Good morning, y'all.
Good morning.
We're in the second week of Advent, and so we're beginning to get into the serious part of the story now. Lesson is from the first chapter of Luke. It's the story about Zechariah and Elizabeth and John the Baptist. It's where Luke starts his gospel. It's with them because John kind of led the way for, or kind of made the people aware that something was coming different. Well, y'all know the story about, Zechariah was one of the priests in the temple in Jerusalem, and it says that he and Elizabeth, it said they had lived good lives. They had tried their best to obey God's laws. And doesn't say how old they were, but it said they were on up in age and they had never had any children. And of course that was a shame to Elizabeth back in that day. If a woman did not or could not bear children, then it was kind of considered a disgrace on the family. So, they had to live with that. But Zechariah was a priest, he was doing his job, and he went into the priest part of the temple to burn incense before the altar, which was his duty. And while he was in there, and he may have went in there either by himself, may have been some other priests went with him. I don't really know how their procedures were. But he went into a more inner part of the temple than where the regular people were sitting. And while he was in there, it says an angel appeared to him standing beside the altar. And of course he was scared because, I'd be scared too. And so the angel said, well, don't be afraid. He said, I'm here to bring you some good news to tell you that your prayers going to be answered. Because Zechariah and Elizabeth not only had always wanted a son, but like most of the Jewish people, they were praying and waiting for the Messiah that they believed the prophets in the Old Testament had said were coming to free the people from bondage. And so, there's always that hope. And so the angel says, don't worry, I'm here to tell you prayers answered. He said, y'all have a son, he's going to be special to God. and he's going to be like Elijah, one of the old prophets, which, you know, is a big deal to somebody of the Jewish faith at that time. Been a long time since they had any prophets, and it was quite an honor that your child would be that. And so Zechariah says, well, he don't believe it. He says, you know, we're too old to have it young. And he said, I know you tell me the truth. And, you know, God don't like for you to not believe what he comes to tell you. And so the angel said, well, I'm Gabriel. He said, I'm, you know, one of the angels that I stand right beside God waiting for my next message I got to give somebody. And he said, since you don't want to believe it, he said, I'm going to make you mute until after this child is born and named. And Gabriel also told him that this child is to be called John, which means God is faithful, or God honors you, something like that. It's in the book, but I forgot exactly what it's supposed to mean. Anyway, so Zechariah, the people sitting there waiting for him to burn his incense to come on back, and it obviously taking longer than it's supposed to, so they're wondering, well, he comes back out and he can't talk to nobody. And so he's making signs, and they finally figured out that he had seen a vision of some sort. Doesn't say that he told them anything about it. But anyway, so they go along, and pretty soon Elizabeth finds out she's pregnant, and she keeps it to herself for 5 months, it says, probably until she was, you know, showing where you can't really keep it to yourself no more. But she wanted to be, I think she wanted to celebrate privately. And so Elizabeth believed from the beginning that something special was going on. And of course, you know, to be fair, she didn't get terrified by an angel like Zechariah did. So, as the story goes on in Luke, and it's past our involvement with it here in this lesson today, but, you know, it turns out it's John the Baptist is their child. And when the officials want to name him something different, they both say, no, his name's John. And it kind of shocked everybody, because that's not really a Aramaic name like most of the people would have had. But so this is the story of the conception and birth of John the Baptist. And we know that John the Baptist was the voice crying out, you know, get ready, because God is coming. And by that he means God is sending Christ. Well, what's the point of this lesson? And I think as far as Advent, you know, Advent is, according to the book, the definition of Advent is something new is coming. That's what Advent means to us. Something new is coming. The world is going to be different. And we celebrate this every year. I don't know when Jesus was actually born, but I know that, you know, the holiday that we celebrate, December 25th, was set to take the place of one of the old pagan festivals, which was like the shortest days of the year. So that's when we celebrate the birth of Christ. And I think it's kind of, I don't know if it was intentional, but to me it seemed like that's a good time to celebrate it, because when you get toward the end of December, the days are short, the trees, everything is dead. It's kind of
Quiet.
It's quiet, and it's almost gloomy. if you want to look at it that way. I don't really see it as that because I just love to look at those. But
it's so quiet.
it's quiet. It's a dead season. And like I say, it's a lot more darkness than there is light. So the birth of Christ is new light coming back into the world that is so dark. And that's kind of symbolizes what Christ is all about. He came to bring light into a dark, dark world. And that's kind of what Advent means. Something new is coming. And, again, we celebrate this every year. It's a time of waiting and anticipation. And they talk in here about, today we don't want to wait for nothing. We got a instant gratification society. You can, everyone wants to be able to push a button and everything like they want. And I'm the same way. It's hard to wait for things. Well, the Jewish people here have been waiting for a long, long time for their lot to be improved. Because God had promised that He was going to make things better. He promised He was going to fix the world. And so they're waiting. And now here all of a sudden, with this announcement to Zechariah and Elizabeth, something is coming different. And then when John the Baptist is old enough to begin his prophetic ministry, he's telling everybody things is kind of changing. It's a change coming down the road. Y'all need to get ready for it. God is coming back. And so that makes the anticipation all the more for them because they see renewal of life the way they wanted it to be. Of course, we know now that everybody kind of got surprised about what Jesus, the kind of Messiah He was, and He is, brother. But, we don't always get what we expect, but the whole idea of Advent season is waiting and hoping for that new thing that's coming. And they talk in one of the books here, I can't remember if it was a teacher book or the student book, they're talking about somebody, the writer has a friend who had a century plant that they waited for it to bloom. And I know Mama had one.
I had one.
Did you?
I had one.
And it takes a long time for it to bloom.
Yeah, but it's so beautiful.
Yeah,
and it only lasts overnight.
Yeah. And it made me think about, me and I got 3 Christmas cactuses in the front window.
No, they're different.
And some of them probably 10 years old. Some of them, a couple of them ain't that old. A couple of them is, I saw somebody had one pretty, and I got them to give me a break a piece off of it and root it. But anyway, we've been sitting down nursing and things. I look on the internet or look in a book to see what you're supposed to do, because they never would bloom. They would not bloom, would not bloom, would not bloom. Every bud that come on it was just another leaf bud. So I didn't kind of got disgusted with them. And so I got on the internet and looked up what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to change the light and the temperature, and did that. That didn't work. And so I just gave up. I said, you know what? They're just going to do what they're going to do. And this past spring, they all 3 bloomed at Easter.
At Easter.
And I said, okay, well, maybe I've heard people talk about Easter cactuses. And then I looked that up on the internet, because you can find anything on Google, whether it's true or not. And it said that there's Thanksgiving cactuses, Christmas cactuses, Easter cactuses, and you don't know what you got. And I said, well, maybe they're just Easter cactuses. I said, at least they did bloom somehow. And lo and behold, about a week ago, I looked at them and they bloomed. And I said, so they finally have been waiting all this time for the thing to bloom at Christmas, because my sister Beverly has got a couple in her kitchen, and hers a whole lot. They're older, but they're bigger and prettier than mine. She just got a perfect spot in her kitchen right in the window, and hers bloom every year, Christmas, just local bloom. And I always been jealous, so I hope and hope I don't do something. Finally, they're gonna make it this time. They might die for this, but at least they're gonna bloom in Christmas one time.
They were scared you gonna throw them out, they better do something.
They might have had. Well, now I got a lemon tree growing. It's about that high. I'm hoping. I think I'm trying to remember Mom, and when I was little, Mom always had some kind of flowers, and I love flowers myself. I always got to have some kind of flowers, fruit trees, just stuff like that. I got to have it. And Mama would take seeds out of a lemon and plant them, and sometimes you get one to come up. And so I planted some about a year ago, and got one to come up. And I'm hoping, waiting now. Mama had one of her trees had little lemons on it one time. They weren't big as nothing, but big as any thumb, but they were lemons, and they turned yellow and they tasted like a lemon. So I'm waiting. I can wait for that and see if one day, if I can keep it living, maybe I have a lemon to go in Christmas cactus. But I understand the concept they were talking about, the century plant, to kind of explain to us about waiting, anticipation. When you're little children, you understand about the waiting and anticipation of Christmas. I know I used to spend most of the month of December sneaking around the house, crawling up in the attic, trying to find what was I going to get. And one year I found something I was supposed to get, and I slipped up like an idiot and said something about it. Mom said, "Well, you don't get that." And I didn't get it. They took it back to the store. And so I ain't no look no more after that. But it's hard when you're little kids to wait, because you're so excited. And, the Jews were excited. They thought deliverance was coming. And it did come, but it just wasn't what they was thinking it was going to be. We're waiting, and we're not only waiting to celebrate the birth of Jesus, we're waiting for Jesus to come back like he said he would. The writer says that a lot of people have just gave up and don't even care no more. Part of the waiting is don't give up. Nobody now in society wants to wait for anything. People don't want their kids to have to wait for things. But part of life is waiting, and you can't have what you want right now. You've got to wait till the time is right. That's kind of what Advent is doing, is waiting. Something we know we just want it so bad to happen, but we have to wait. We can't make it happen. That's one thing Google can't do. Google can't make stuff happen that you want to happen just because you want it to. But it's kind of sad, really, we raise our kids now to not wait for nothing, to have whatever you want when you want it. I don't know why they bother to have school no more down the road long. They just let them Google everything.
Well, that's what they're doing with this and home learning.
I ain't gonna get off on that subject.
No.
I don't want to talk about it. But in the midst of all the mess in the world, and it's all the lessons we've gone through about the last year. The writer's talking about the corona and the social distancing and the isolation so many people feel. And I don't even usually read a lot of that because I'm tired of hearing about it. But it's funny how every lesson we have now, it's got part of it is about the coronavirus. And we hear them on the news saying it's never going to be over. They keep coming up. Every time the people kind of get where they don't care no more, they come up with new ones and say this one's worse than ever. So, we're waiting for this craziness to be over. We're waiting for Christ to come back, like he said he would. And, we don't want to be like Zechariah and not believe what God says. Because God get kind of ill if you don't want to believe what he says. He said he was coming back, so we believe he's coming back. This whole month kind of is about waiting. It's a big commercial build up now to Christmas. To the holiday season, because you can't say Christmas no more. But as Christians, we're not waiting to celebrate the holiday season. We're waiting for the advent of our Savior, our Messiah, who we believe is going to fix the world eventually, who we know brought light and hope into the world. Zechariah and Elizabeth had hope thrust into their lives when they had long ago given up. We have hope brought into our lives and light brought into our lives by our Savior. And that's something, we've got to wait for it. And that's something I think is worth waiting for. Sometimes Christmas, the whole hullabaloo ain't really worth waiting for. Time it gets here, it's one day and then it's over. And you're like, why did we bother with all this mess when it's just another day? Sun came up, sun went down. So, what we're waiting for is a little bit more important than opening presents under the tree. That's about all I got to say. If I want to add something different. Carolyn said that she can get some of the King James books be about the middle of this month before they come. And if y'all want to, we'll look at them some as we go along through the. Like I said, this book we just started will go through the end of February. And we can look at some of them along with it. It will not be the same lesson each week. We'll make sure everybody understands that. I asked Carolyn about that. She said everybody doesn't use the lectionary calendar that we use. I didn't know that. I thought they did, but they don't. So the lesson won't be the same as in the book. I mean, it'll be the same scripture, the same Bible, but they won't go along with what we've been used to going along with. So, as we look at them, if that bothers anybody, we'll speak out. So we can decide to do it.
Maybe we need to change.
Maybe, excuse me. But
It's more like a Bible study, isn't it?
a little bit more, yes. Mm-hmm. But one of y'all brought up the point last week. We were talking about it. We can, it's a verse by verse explanation. It doesn't have the stories in here like the story about the century plant and that kind of thing. But one of y'all made the comment that we probably got enough stories of our own that each Bible verse might remind us of. So that might be more interesting. I think it'd be more discussion and more chance to.
More biblical too.
Yeah. It'd be more chance to ask questions, more chance to give your opinion. Maybe I think we're just trying to see if anybody want to do something a little different. That's all.
Never know till you try.
That's true. I do like the fact that it's King James. That's one of those books I got to read every week. Because I can't get nothing out of these.
I don't either, really.
I really don't. I kind of get the story, but then when I read it in King James,
Well,
it
then
comes out a little different to me.
I see this, and then I get my Bible, and I read from the Bible, and it just has jibs, it's just like a raindrop.
It's some of it, but it ain't.
Yeah. Not really biblical.
No, it's more like a little children's story.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Watered down.
Dick and Jane running that kind of stuff.
Maybe they think that's what we read.
It might be they think we so done, that's all we can deal with. But anyway, we'll do that as we go along. I don't know what next week's lesson is. I think probably Mary's conception or her the announcement.
Elizabeth and Mary.
The angel Gabriel came to Mary also and told her and that she was going to have God's son. And somebody way back in the Old Testament, he came to tell them something similar. I don't forget who it was. Man. Some of them old people.
Became what?
Gabriel has made several appearances in the Bible.
Angel Gabriel appeared.
The angel Gabriel, and it's usually because he's going to come next week and announce to Mary that she's going to bear God's son.
Right, yeah.
And it was saying in one of these books that back in the Old Testament he made a couple of announcements to people too, but I can't remember what it was or where it. It's funny how you can read the Bible over and over and you see something different every time you read it that you didn't see before.
Well, that's the Bible.
I guess it's a living Bible.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad all y'all came out. It's encouraging to see the room kind of filling back up a little bit. We get this side fill up again, we'll be doing good. It's encouraging to me that some people are looking at it on the internet. We appreciate that and hope we don't bore y'all too badly. But it's encouraging that people ain't giving up on church completely. Even though we got a society that's kind of uprooted now. So I'm going to sign this thing off here real quick. Thank y'all for listening, coming, watching, and we'll see y'all next week.